Akhil.
Very good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good
Good
evening.
morning.
Good evening. It seems like morning.
Good evening.
All right.
Right away. So we start off the Vidphone show. A very good evening, everyone. So looking at what's going on with the world of sales, remote working, virtual office, Vidphone, ecosystem updates, etc., etc. So Jagat, good to have you here, and trust everything is well. And what can we expect from you today?
Today is, I think, a very, very special episode of the Vidphone show. And as you can see in the title, today we are talking about how do you build remote first companies, remote first startups. Right? I think we're all aware we are in very, very difficult times, not only in India, but I think worldwide. And as they say, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And I think this is my message to all the startup founders, to all the enterprises, all the CEOs, is that we don't accept defeat. We always have to innovate. We have to look at new ways of doing things. And just wanted to share some notes, things that we've been working on. And we're also very open to hearing, views from everybody else to share some knowledge and, hopefully navigate this crisis.
Fantastic, Jagat. See, now with the current situation, which hopefully will not, when the loss of life, the loss of business and livelihood is not easy. But at the same time, one has to understand that we can still do things. We can still figure out how to do business, and obviously virtual office and remote sales, and figuring out how teams can still work together, ideate together, innovate together, and take care of customers is the most important thing, right? Customer service cannot be ignored in these tough times. So I know that you have prepared some things, you have some presentations, and you have some tips for the founders. So looking forward to your presentation and kicking start this episode.
Thank you. Thanks, Vijetha. And, special thanks to you for joining in and always being such a wonderful support. So, what I'll do is I will, directly get into my presentation. Feel
Yeah,
free
please,
sometimes,
please.
also have your own views. Right? My screen visible? All good?
Yeah.
Okay. So the viewers may, click on my video to full screen it. So today we have this very, very interesting session, right? And you know, we call this the new way of doing business or the new way of doing remote business. Today we all know that we live in a remote economy. There has been a huge shift in the whole world last year, but there seems to be a big problem. You know, remote customer and employee experience is completely broken. And why do we say this? We say this because one is that we know that there is some kind of fatigue with remote work. But what is the secret sauce here? What is the secret sauce for remote success? And our thesis is that we are missing serendipity in our lives, right? And what we mean by serendipity is the good chance meetings. These are your water cooler conversations. When you go to the cafeteria, you bump into a colleague or a partner randomly, and these are what we call no schedule meetings. And a lot of life and a lot of business itself happens unplanned, right? Not everything is planned. And serendipity is something that's extremely important in remote work. Now, how does serendipity happen? How do, for example, let's say, Vijetha, you and I think back, when you were at the COE IoT as well, we would bump into each other at the cafeteria. Now, how that happens is, if we just deconstruct, one is that I independently would go to the cafeteria, and you independently would go to the cafeteria. And once in a while, we would have this collision, right? We would have this random meeting. Now, for this to happen, what we say is that ubiquity is critical, is that you need that cafeteria there all the time, right? It's not something that pops up and closes down or randomly is there. So similarly with video, we need video anytime, anywhere. And really the way we believe is through what we call the open video ID or the open video link. This is very similar to, let's say, the other forms of communication that we are used to, which is text and voice, right? So you have email and phone. Now, these are permanent IDs. You have a permanent email address, you have a permanent phone number. And the beauty of it is that, they're also cross-operable. which means that if you're on Gmail, I can mail you from Hotmail or Zoho. If you're on Airtel, I can call you from Vodafone, and it's a permanent number. Now we see that in video, this is surprisingly, this is completely broken. Uh, and so the way we really put it is that last year, or 2020, was about scheduled meetings and webinars. Right? We believe that 2021 is about real remote work. Right? Now, what do I mean by this remote work? There are two things. There is the remote workplace and there is the workforce. And so for us, the way that we look at things going forward is that people need a pre-integrated platform with all the features you need to succeed virtually. What do we mean by remote work or remote business? It is really these four things on the right side. If you just deconstruct a business, uh, of course you have other smaller departments, or say, let's say, non-core departments, like, let's say, admin, or HR, etc. But customer and employee makes the business, right? It's really about customers and employees or teams. This is really about remote marketing, remote sales, remote support. Now, these three is what we call the external communications. This is really about where the customer is actually interacting with the business. And the last one there is remote collaboration, which is the team, right? Now, when we just deconstruct what is remote marketing today, it's really about webinars and live streaming. This is what's been happening all through last year. But we have had a twist here. Of course, video mail is, we believe, a huge factor in marketing today. If you look at remote sales, people say remote sales is broken today. It's very difficult to sell completely virtual. Somehow I don't agree with this. In fact, just yesterday, we closed a deal with one of the largest automobile companies in the world. Even our first funding round was completely closed remotely, right? It was closed on our platform with 10 different investors. So I don't believe that remote sales is broken, but you need the right processes and tools to actually make it work. Two of these big tools are really appointment scheduling and branded video meeting rooms, right? These are really important for remote sales. It cannot happen through just scheduled meetings. Remote support, as you mentioned very rightly, in these times, the customer or the customer success, customer support becomes paramount, right? It's no more about just text messages or email support or phone support. It's really about live video support. Today, in a socially distanced world, we crave for companionship. We crave to see another person, right? What better than a person at the other end who can actually help you out, right? And that's really the way we look at going forward. And support does not only end with, let's say, video chat. It's also about engaging webinars, which help in customer advocacy. Now, the moment you're a customer, we know that today the deal is not done. Before the deal was done, or the sale, once the sale was made, the deal was done. Today, the sale is only the beginning of a relationship, right? It's really about the support, the customer success. And that again happens through our engaging webinar platform. And the most important thing, remote collaboration. Now, remote collaboration today is completely broken, right? And the reason is that, I'm not saying this. The fact is that you just have to go and put, remote fatigue, or, let's say Zoom fatigue, right? People are getting tired of scheduled conferencing and, meetings. But we need the remote HQ. We need the office back, right? We need a place where the team can hang out. And that's really important. Along with private meeting rooms, which are what we call permanent. They're always on. And of course, async video messaging or Vmail, which is a lot like email, but this is about video, right? It's about video messages that you can actually use for communication. So in the way we look at things, successful remote work or a successful remote business is one where you have remote customers and remote employees. And these four components are critical for a company to be able to be remote first. So introducing Vidphone. We call Vidphone the virtual office for remote customer and employee experience. Right? Here is a quick snapshot of how the virtual office looks. First of all, it's the only video customer touch point on the planet. You'll be surprised when I say that, but when you think about it, you cannot talk to a business today in live video. The business can be able, may schedule a call with you, but that's not how business happens, right? Business happens when a customer talks to the business most of the time. And that's what you did with email. That's what we did with phone. That's what we did with social and even your website. These are customer touch points. So the virtual office is the world's first video customer experience zone. What we have done here is we have brought together elements of webinars, conferencing, and of course, various other collateral and tools that a customer needs to get in touch with the business. This is the first in the world, right? There is no platform today on the planet where you have a video customer experience zone. Now, the beauty of this is that much like your website or your Facebook ID or your Facebook link or your Twitter link, this is a unique ID. It's a browser-based URL or a link. So this can also be shared along with your normal collateral. So anybody, just like they come to your Facebook page or your website, they can actually enter your virtual office and do business directly with you in real time. Right? Second part we talk about is the sequential video tools to advance the customer generation journey. Webinars alone don't make the cut, right? You need to be able to do the webinars. Now, the reason for webinars is mainly outreach, where it's a lead generation mechanism. You're able to generate leads on the fly, and then you're able to nurture these leads, right? This is where a lot of platforms really miss out. While you're able to do ad hoc webinars, we are unable to take that customer journey and kind of convert that lead or prospect into a customer. Now, the difficulty there is that you only have scheduled meetings and webinars. Now, there is a lot of gray area between these two, right? A webinar is where you have a lead, and a meeting is where you may close the deal. But there are a lot of interactions between this that actually nurture this customer to become, nurture the lead to become a customer. So this is where we have tools like vLeads and vMail, which form a large part of that gray area between a prospect and a customer. And of course, the final deal has to be done on a video meeting, which is happening through video appointments. So this is a critical part of the puzzle that most of the large companies and other competition have not cracked. And this is the most important part for us, right? It's about the sequential video tools to advance customer generation. The third is the final stage. Once this lead has been nurtured, once they have shown interest in our product or service, you need to be able to have an appointment with them. You need to have a beautiful video demo, which is followed by typically a negotiation and a closure, right? How beautiful would it look if this meeting happened just like in your office or in a coffee shop or who knows, maybe on a beach? These are the theme-based rooms. That is, again, something that is, our proprietary stuff. It's very important for each business or a company to have its own company culture. And this is what offices were about. Offices are not just spaces or real estate. Each office has its own theme, its own colors, its own vibe. And this is what we need to reflect to be able to show the uniqueness of a particular business, right? So we call it the theme-based rooms. I have closed a lot of deals in our rooms, right? And let me tell you that when people just pop into our theme-based rooms, and I'm not kidding at all, the first expression people say is wow, right? And so that is really what you want people to be, feeling when they come into your meeting rooms, right? So this is the third and final stage. Now we come to the employee experience zone. Now, so far we were talking about the customers, right? Prospect, lead, and prospect and customer. But now this is about the employees and your teams. Today, the pandemic has really distanced teams, like never before. And it's almost impossible to collaborate in real time. We have worked a lot on this over the past 6 months, and we believe that this virtual office is really the reflection or a kind of replica of your actual office on your screen, right? So very much like how you are taking your seat in an office, you're sitting there with your colleagues. If you want to get someone into a conversation, you don't need to send scheduled links to them. You just go and click on them, much like you pat on their shoulder, and you start a meeting. You want to add a third person into the call, just like you would do it in an office. You would say, hey, Ashley, or hi, Vijetha, just come into our room. It's as simple as that. Now, what this allows you to do is to hang out with your team. It's the most important thing. This is what builds company culture, innovation, and ideas, right? This is the Vidphone virtual office, the employee experience zone, And we say no more fatigue and no more scheduling. Now, this is the secret sauce, right? This is really what every business today wants. It's what we call the remote customer funnel. Now, customers cannot be made just on a webinar or on a video meeting, as I told you. There is an entire nurturing process to nurture that lead into a prospect, into a customer. And at the core of this is your virtual office. This is really your hub online, your remote work, remote workplace is your virtual office. People come into your virtual office through your existing social media, email, and various other platforms that you're already active. So let's say you're on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. You cannot sell to people on these platforms. You have to be able to get them into an area where they are comfortable doing business. That's the virtual office. And again, once they get into the virtual office, there's no guarantee they're going to buy the first time. So we take them into the lead capture mechanism. You have your V leads. You're nurturing these leads through video mail, video meetings, and webinars. And this eventually, over 6 or 7 interactions, typically leads to that beautiful customer generation where you get paying customers. This is what we call the remote customer funnel. And we are probably the first in the world to actually lay this out in a way that is actionable to people. What is our audience, right? Today, we see that the world is really broken up into 3 main categories of business. The first are the freelancers or the consultants or the solopreneurs. These are typically individuals who are doing business. The second are your startups and SMBs, global startups and SMBs. And the third are enterprises. We are very happy to say that we have customers across these different segments. And the beauty of the virtual office is that much like your normal office, nothing changes, right? It's still a place where you do business. And our goal is to empower these 3 segments of knowledge workers and companies to do remote business. So that was a very, very quick overview. We say that the virtual office is now open. Of course, your office is closed, but the virtual office is open. If you want to get your own virtual office, all you need to do is go to vidphone.me, create an account. Automatically, all of the IDs are created for you. And this is the beauty of Vidphone, right? You don't need to go and do each one of these again and again. The moment you sign up once, you have your customer experience zone, you have your employee experience zone, you have a webinar platform, you have your meetings, and you have video mail and appointments. Everything integrated into one elegant platform. So we believe that the virtual office is where business will happen in the future. In fact, it's not the future, it's actually the present. I'm more than happy to engage with anybody who's interested in furthering their remote business. You can reach out to me in my virtual office, vidphone.me/Jagat, my phone number, and that's my email ID. Feel free to reach out, happy to collaborate and share our knowledge. So happy to take questions and happy to go over any points at all, Vijetha. Thank you.
Hey, thanks. So we have Varad also with us. So I have the raise hand option for you guys. Varad, if you want to just come in and say hi, because you do a lot of work around open innovation, you work with a lot of startups and government, etc., etc. So Varad, I've given the raise hand, or whichever, whatever works for you. We'll be happy to have you there. And so, so of course, Jagat is also a Thai member. He's trying to do a lot for the community and ecosystem. So thank you for that as well. And we also have Naresh online. So Jagat, very specifically, right? I mean, now it's not just about India customers, whatever. It's also about outside customers. Everyone is looking at India. We have been talking about that. Okay. You have presented at the Thai Global Summit. You have presented at IoT Forum in December. You have been regularly coming for our hybrid digital networking opportunities that happens from Thai Bangalore. And many of them actually happen on different forms, correct? It happens sometimes on Teams, sometimes on WebEx, sometimes on Zoom, whatever it is. Okay. So, okay, Varad has got a question. So maybe Akhil, if you can just help him out. And in Varad, it's not a session to introduce Vidphone. It's also about talking about remote sales. It's also talking about, I'll be giving a chat about ecosystem updates, what Thai Bangalore is doing, what's happening. We also have some very active forums where only founders are there and we're trying to help the ecosystem grow. and we are also trying to see what are the resources that we can share that could help the founders. Okay, so for example, Jagat, you were also there, I think, on the 14th when we did this session with Anjali and her team from Waterbridge VC. Many of you founders could get to talk as well, right? And just imagine that if we did not have such kind of tools, it would have been so difficult, isn't it, to travel all over the country, all over the world, and for people to come in. So,
Absolutely.
what else can one do as a founder to take advantage of these digital options?
Sure.
And I'm also getting Varad online.
So yeah, let's get water, then I'll take that.
Yes, just a
Can
second.
you hear me?
Yes, Varad, you. I think we can hear you. We can see you. Yes,
Great,
yes,
great.
yes. Yeah, perfect, perfect.
How are you all?
Doing
All
fine.
good. Thank you.
Great, great. So a couple of things. This is I've seen this before. Jagat, so first I want to say that this is very interesting, and we have our own platform called the Induct at Work. This is my own company, and this is in the 14th year. It's headquartered in Oslo. So what we do is much similar to, if you know, MS Teams.
Yeah.
We compete with MS Teams, and we also have a video tool in that. In fact, it is an outsourced tool. So we have taken it from somewhere in Europe. So if your Vidphone is good, why not integrate this? So that was the thought, I was having. And in such a case, how do we go about it? Yes, yes,
Firstly,
Vijeta, thanks so much
yeah.
for that invite.
Firstly, Varad, thanks
I'm
for
just seeing your messages.
yeah, thanks for catching up.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead, Jagat.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
Hey,
Vijetha
thanks,
will,
thanks, Varad. Thank you so much for joining in, and look forward to more information and collaborations, etc. So, Jagat, you should have a conversation with Varad and see what you guys can do together.
yeah, and
Okay.
just
So,
yesterday,
Varad, of course, has got a lot of experience. He's been an investor. He works with startups and many things. But again, I would prefer that you guys should be doing this conversation without me around. Okay. But thanks, Varad. Take care, man. Enjoy your weekend. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, thanks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cheers. Cheers.
So Jagat, do you want to
yeah,
you know, answer my question about can this be integrated? Yeah.
definitely. So in fact, Europe is kind of just yesterday I closed the deal in France, and it happened completely on Vidphone, right? So I think one of the beautiful things about Europe is that I think the European markets appreciate security and a certain sense of culture in doing business, right? And that I think is something that I think there is some synergy even in the way we approach it. Uh, like you said, MS Teams or Google Meet. In fact, today morning I had there was an interview. Somebody interviewed me, and I actually told them that we had the browser-based conferencing before Microsoft Teams and Google Meet, and it's on the record. People can check it. We were out in 2016, and they launched in 2017. But there is a big problem with Teams, right? It's only about scheduled meetings. This is my problem, and business does not happen always in scheduled meetings. Business happens serendipitously, right? And that's what we want to bring. So happy to engage. Would love to see how we can collaborate. Of course, Vidphone is
Yes.
all-in-one remote platform. So I'm saying this today after building this for a few years, is that today the only real tool I use for business is Vidphone. So the customers are scheduling my calls. I do leads through webinars. We do email. So it's all, you can explore it as a one-stop solution as well. But I would love to see what your product's about, so that there might be a better fit. So really, thanks for
Yeah.
joining in. I really appreciate you coming into the show, and would love to catch up. I'll drop my email also, so you can just uh, drop me a note as well.
Yeah. So I will just add a few lines, because since you asked this question about what we do, this is a 14-year-old company, and we are an open innovation platform. We create what's called virtual ecosystems, and this has been, like, as you know, it's in Scandinavia, and so we are way ahead of the market. So when we came to India some 12 years ago, we were kind of well ahead of the market. People didn't know, forget open innovation, they didn't know what was innovation.
Innovation.
So that was the time. And so I just want to say that in the last 2 years, specifically during this COVID, right, it has been pivoted and reinvented ourselves. So today we are looking at it's a collaborative digital platform, and we have incorporated the features like of Google search engine, and then we have also Dropbox, then we have a Facebook feature. So everything is built in, and it's called as Induct at Work. Okay, so it's massive engagement right now. So we used to get only some, say, 30 to 40 inquiries, business inquiries prior to COVID, in a week. Now we're getting something like 200 to 300 inquiries a week for using the platform. So I just want to say there was one piece that was missing. That was this particular video conferencing tool, and we actually partnered with one of the such startup in Europe, and we have integrated, but we are open to integrate anyone else. So that's the discussion I would like to have with you, and like you said, we can take it offline.
Definitely. You can just, if you don't mind, Bharat, can you just put the name of your startup there on the comments so I can just check it?
Yeah, sure. So it is, you can take a look at this, www.induct.net. So I wouldn't call, we are not a startup anymore. It's 40 years. In fact, I listed this company. We have listed this company in the Oslo Stock Exchange already.
Wow.
Just give me a minute. Somebody's at my door.
Sure. Oslo, I mean, sorry, my geography is not great. Oslo is Norway, I guess.
Norway, yeah.
I think Norway, Sweden, and Finland.
Scandinavian countries. Cold, but doing a lot of work. They have probably, Norway, Finland are really top notch.
Yeah. So, I was just telling you, right, that we listed this in Oslo Stock Exchange in 2016, January. And then, we continue to scale it. As I speak with you, we are now building it towards to be a unicorn, one of the unicorns, and headed to also to NASDAQ. Okay, so that's the next steps. So that's what, as I speak with you, that's what we are on. So, like I said, let's take this discussion offline.
Definitely.
And see, how this can be done. I'll bring my R&D team from Barcelona as well as from Oslo. That's where my headquarters is, and I'm one of the co-founders. So let's see how this can be brought together.
Definitely. Would love to collaborate, and let's do it.
Yeah.
How about listing in our own NSE? What about the no plans of listing here in India?
See, my first IPO was, this was my fifth exit. Okay, my first startup was, I wouldn't call it again a startup. We had 900 people at the time, and that was in the year 2000. That was my first listing. Okay.
Amazing.
And there's no looking back. So I'm just saying to you that been through the BSc listing that got 50 times oversubscribed, by the way.
Wow.
And thereafter, I've been to three M&A deals. Whatever companies I built got acquired by large companies. And that is how I went about creating a new program called 100 Open Startups to help startups to get acquired by large companies, with the goal being that. But there are many things that we do in between, like, helping the startup to, let's say, find validation from the market. So there are, if you see, many systems, or I would call programs, that exist all over the world in terms of incubators, accelerators, and so on. So, we are doing something way beyond that. So in terms of bringing success for the startups, so they don't have to go through the challenges that we ourselves went through. So that's maybe another day, Vijetha. I'm happy to talk about that.
Of course, Varad. We'll do that, man. And you take care also, huh? Be well, be fit, etc. Take care.
Yeah,
thank you.
You too.
Thank you so much, Varad, for joining in as well. All right.
Yeah, most welcome. So
Always.
I'm hoping to hear from you, the update from you.
Yes. Of course, we'll have that conversation as well. All right. Take care.
Yeah. You too.
Thank you, Varad. Bye-bye.
Great to meet. Thank you. Yeah. Amazing.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Jagat. So very quickly, I just want to we are on the 7:30 on the dot. So Jagat, let's. I would like this to be an interactive session, and because you have also been part of so many of the activities that we're doing. So let us start from step by step, right? See, because one is that we'll be doing that investor series, Jagat, continuously, what you saw on Flint as well. And yes, we will also create opportunities for some of the founders to at least talk about themselves, come online, etc., etc., like how you did. Okay. The next one is coming on 21st. We'll have a series of people. It'll be angels, it'll be VCs, it'll be whatever people who are working in the ecosystem, and it's for the founders to come there and please network, right? I mean, spend some time networking. Okay, that's number one. Jagat, of course, this may not be applied so much for you, but you know that we are doing this Thai Women Entrepreneur Program. So there are multiple chapters, there are 40 chapters across Thai who are taking part in this. In Bangalore, any women co-founders, tech or non-tech, early stage or late stage, not middle, but early or late, you're the most welcome to apply for it. And we want to support the founders. Yes, ultimately, if you get chosen, you have to be a Thai member because there'll be a lot of workshops and other things that we'll be doing for you. So, a lot of resources that will be deployed. So you need to be a member. And of course, membership hardly costs much, 4,000 plus taxes for the year. That's number one. And also, Jagat, what I would like to do with you,
Yeah.
also, like tomorrow, for example, can we just quickly talk about the Startup Sunday? The fact that we are doing this in the evening, if I'm not mistaken, 6 to 7 p.m.
Yes.
And we would love to have more people come in
Yeah.
and work with us, talk about what they're doing, etc. So can you just give a gist about the Startup Sunday as well, Jagat?
Right. So, Startup Sunday, I think firstly, I'd like to say, that, kudos to you guys at Thai. I'm following all the events and I attend them. It's amazing the kind of, work that you guys are doing. So hats off to that. Yes, I think Startup Sunday, we started it as the informal boardroom. It was something that as every founder, we don't have access to, let's say, a large, board of directors to really guide the company, right? So we felt that founders could come together and solve each other's problems. That's why we started the whole, Startup Sunday. But of course, tomorrow, something interesting. We won't give away too much right now, but definitely it's for the ecosystem and it's Sunday, so it's not too serious. I mean, we like to keep it community driven. But yes, definitely we need to bring people together on a Sunday, just to network, to say hello, and who knows, right? Business really happens in these kind of situations, right? So really looking forward. I've lost track. I don't know how many we have done. I think maybe 25, 30 odd startups.
Yeah. It's quite a bit. If you add all the episodes, Startup Sunday, what we're doing with Ashutosh and what you have been doing, Startup Sunday, League of Extraordinary Startups, I think you're touching what, 75, 80, maybe actually 100 actually. If you add all these, it'll touch 100. But we have just begun. As Jeff Bezos says, right, it's still day one. We've just started. There's a lot more that we should be doing.
It's not even
Okay.
day zero. Jeff Bezos says day zero. I say
Right.
it's like 3 o'clock at night. So
Yeah. Also, Jagat, other things that I would like to share. All right. The Vadwani Foundation also, they are also doing a lot of stuff. I've been sharing, like, okay, let's talk about a Founders Feed WhatsApp group, only for founders, of course, except for me, who's not a founder, but just gallivanting around the countryside. But we have, I think, what, 185 founders out there across the world. It's no longer, there are people from all over. There's people from Sri Lanka, there are people from whatever, Maldives, so many other countries, I think Dubai, etc. So, Jagat, let's talk about that in the sense that we want more founders to be added over there. We are talking about the various activities that say NASCOM does, because Jagat, you're also been part of the NASCOM 10K warehouse, etc. We're talking about NSR cell. We're talking about all the other type chapters. We're talking about opportunities that are there globally. What are the collaborations possible within countries, etc., etc. And, and Jagat, where you have also been, trying to see what are the opportunities outside of India, correct?
yeah.
And how receptive are they to Indian skill sets, Indian technology? Because we should say that, because they have their own homegrown solutions maybe. What's your take on that? Because you've been signing NDAs and MOUs and
Not only
whatever else.
not
So how
only
does that work?
not only MOUs and NDAs. We in fact closed a deal with one of the largest automobile manufacturers in France, uh, and we got the advance payment with no credit terms, right? And let me tell you that and we beat out all the competition that's in front of us, and the competition that was in front of us is what everybody knows, right? And I think, yeah, it's not about I even in the past, like I think if before I got into video communications, we were doing digital transformation from 2012 to 2016, and my customers were Danfoss, which is a Denmark company, DTZ, Kashmir Wakefield, Bosch, Underwriters Laboratories, Rentokil Initial. All of these are European and American companies, And one of the most exciting things was that we were not taking a bunch of requirements and building out what they wanted as such, right? They would come up with a problem statement, and our team would give the requirements and we would deploy it. And that really started my whole kind of mission in saying that India is not a back office. This is an innovation place, and we have a history of 1 decade of innovation with some of these large enterprises. And yeah, again, the deal with, let's say, the companies, Stellantis, it's a merger of Fiat Chrysler and Peugeot, or Peugeot, the way you pronounce it. The deal is directly with the CEO, right? I think everybody understands today that video is the only way forward, and the existing tools don't make the cut, right? They are not customer-facing tools, and so that is the reason Vidphone exists. And like you asked me, they are extremely receptive. Not only, and I would say, I mean, I have a lot of respect for Indian companies and founders, but let me tell you that Europeans and the Americans, they put their money, where their mouth is, right? It's not about having endless conversations. We actually go ahead, get the deal done, and then it's about us to deliver, right? And that's really where the next phase. It's not only about closing a deal. It's today, can we kind of help them with their video business model? Can we give them a brand new channel or a business model that when all the showrooms are shut, or even, let's say, any other place of purchase or business, when it's closed, can you still do your business? And if we can make that happen,
Absolutely,
I think
absolutely,
that's important.
absolutely. So it is basically we are saying that in the Indian technology, Indian startups, Indian founders are respected, they're trusted, and now is the time to crack this because we have the advantage. We speak the language, we understand legality, we are willing to work hard. So to all the founders out there, right? It's not just about the Freshworks or the Zoho or the Whatfixes or the SaaS models or a few other fintech startups, correct? There is so much of opportunity for the next 10,000, 20,000 companies to grow, add lots of employees, make millions and millions of dollars worth of revenues. And this is what's going to boost the economy, right? Great, fantastic. So I would also like to say that, TIE is doing this, TIE Young Entrepreneurs. We're trying to get, people, Jagat, who are 13 and 17-year-olds,
I
teach
should
them
be
the
applying.
entire yeah. So the entire models, right from team building and term sheets and sales, customer validation, doing minimum viable product, the whole gamut of stuff, right? And helping them with their pitches, the customer communications, right to go to VCs. So it's quite interesting, and it's something that I also enjoy and learn from. There's so much of new inputs that keep coming, a lot of tough questions that come on because these kids are so well versed. They read. I mean, you know what the news has been going on. It's all about unicorns and fundraising and startups getting lots of things. But a shout out to the Your Story and Link 42 and ET team. They keep sharing a lot of good stuff about the founders. Jagat, you have also raised funding, and there's so much of stuff going on that. So now we are on 7:40 almost. So I want to slightly change the track to the sessions that we have been doing. And by the way, it's tomorrow is going to be the 25th episode of Startup Sunday.
Thanks,
That's
Akhil, for
crazy.
that. It's
It
great. Yeah,
seems like we just started, isn't it?
absolutely.
Yeah. So I think we have featured more than 50 founders there. We have featured more than 50 founders in League of Extraordinary Startups. Many of them have also then come to the TIE Startup Showcase, IoT Forum, IoT Day. So many things are happening, the TGS, and many more sessions that we're doing.
Yeah.
We are also creating, Jagat, like at TIE, we're creating something called a Hall of Fame. So, Vinay and all will reach out to you as well because we need
No,
to talk.
I
You
think
need to give a kind of sound. Yeah.
probably late.
Sound bite.
I'm not yet in the Hall of Fame now. It may be one.
No, we have to get you there, man. We have to get you there. See, this is about this, right? It's not just about, look, there's a lot of coverage happening in the media, but we need to also support those who are not, I mean, you may not have raised $1 million, you may not have $100,000 per month kind of thing, or 100 employees or whatever, but you're getting there. So we know we want to feature more of these kind of startups. It's a way to inspire, it's a way to boost, it's a way to make people feel good and motivated because I think that's very important. You
Absolutely.
need to tell the stories. You have to tell the stories. And Jagat, an article that I'd shared with you, and this is an important ecosystem update, right? The best entrepreneurs are also phenomenal communicators, right? I would really urge people to read the newsletters that Jeff Bezos sends out. I would urge people to, like how Bill Gates communicates, the books that he recommends and why you should read it. I mean, I think Jagat, we are both fans of Naval Ravikant, who's an Indian and doing amazing work, Angel List, etc. Would love to tell people that you all should read these books by Indian founders as well. There's a lot of Indian stories out there, especially the SaaS stories. The Zoho, the Freshworks, the WhatFix, the Credit B. So many phenomenally amazing stories that is going on. So Jagat, now I would like to kind of get into this situation that challenges and gaps, correct? I mean, it's not an easy life out there. A lot of stress points are there. So how are we kind of I mean, we're taking the bull by the horns, we're acknowledging the challenges, and what can be done? Bullet pointed conversation, because a couple of other things I want to talk to you about.
No, definitely, we have to take the bull by the horns. And if you look at our business model last year, when you're running a video meetings and webinar platform, and you have $2 trillion companies come at you, and they're doing free products, well, we have to take the bull by the horns. And yes, what's I think very important is to understand that we should, in fact, I was hearing a very, very smart person talking, and he said, don't look to beat Pakistan or South Africa in a cricket game, right? You try and hit the ball. That's all you need to focus on. So I think competition can do what they want. It really does not matter for us. I think even for Indian companies, right? Very often we have seen that there is a lot of X of Y kind of businesses here in India. We have to be original in our thinking. We have to be authentic. And that's when I think you will get real respect. This is what I've seen, right? So the reason why, let's say, large companies are coming to us and probably not much larger competition is because we are so original in our thinking and we are absolutely authentic. And I think for Indian companies, and I think that is something that, I shout out to founders to be authentic, to be original in your thinking. And I think that's really important. That's what I think people really appreciate.
Awesome, super awesome. So Jagat, you have also come to some of our closed door sessions as well. Okay, for example, the BV Jagdish's session yesterday, where he did some, very different kind of maybe I would not say, okay, not exactly contrarian, but not the most pleasant of, but very vital inputs that he gave. Right, be ethical. Do not just fall for all the whatever the articles that you read or all the advice, but at the same time, please have experienced mentors who you may not agree with them, but their inputs could be of make or break and help you do the decision making. So what did you get to learn about that? It could be you may not agree with everything, but your thoughts.
I think BV Jagdish, I've always looked up to him because just a short story. 2014, I think BV Jagdish's team was in charge of the campaign for the Bharatiya Janata Party, if I'm not mistaken. I think they were doing the first real digital campaign in India. They were doing it for Delhi, and our company was doing it for the whole state of Karnataka. We were the only state that had an organized digital campaign. So he's speaking from his experience, and I think you cannot go wrong when you speak from your experience, right? It's not a point. It's not something you're just passing on as a statement. It's something that you have experienced. And a couple of things he said, right? Like, obviously, we try and, many founders may blame a venture capitalist or an angel. But I think the bottom line is that if you have something that is going to make money for them, it is in their interest to come after you. And I think that's very well put. It was very straightforward and direct. And I think that's the truth, right? We have to be original. And, once you do that, I think things fall in place, right? But I really learned a lot. I think he was sharing a lot of insights. And I think you have the recording also probably. So definitely, I think founders can learn a lot from him. Hi, Ajak. Glad to see you.
Thank you. Yeah. So who else do we have here? Sorry, anyone? Ajak. Oh, Ajak is my friend. Wow. Ajak is from Reliance. I mean, and we used to also work together at Metro Cash and Carry. And he's an amazing. Hey, Ajak, if you want to come and say hi to everyone, you can just raise your hand. It'll be nice to have you there, man. And one of the most hardworking and wonderful people that I know, also, by the way. Great guy. Thanks, Ajak. So nice of you to come. So, okay, now till Ajak decides that he wants to come in and raise hand, I want to also ask you, Jagat, see, you have also gone at, you have been there at IoT Forum, you have been there at TGS. So, like, how do you do this? You're there as, you have speaking time, you have your demo booth, etc., right? So let's imagine that in the future also, this is going to be a very critical aspect of networking, and you can't go to hotels now, you can't do exhibitions, whatever, but you can do so many other things.
Yeah.
How do you prepare? right? How do you make sure that you leverage this without being too spammy or too salesy, because that can turn people off?
Yeah.
So how does one go about it? Some best practices, some mistakes you have done. What could you have done better? I'd love to hear that.
Well, I wouldn't want to get into the mistakes because that will take long. But a quick hack for me is that I have like 4 devices. I have a desktop, I have a laptop, I have my iPhone, and I have an Android. So sometimes I'm attending 2 webinars at a time, and I'm also doing a conference. It happened even yesterday. Actually, I was doing 3 things at one time. Sometimes you need to, and that's the beauty of virtual work, right? You can't really be at 3 events at one time. But if you just have a desktop, your Mac, and you have your iPhone and Android, you can, well, you can actually do a lot more than being just at one place. So it is a bit of multitasking. I think that's important. As a founder and as a CEO, you have to multitask. So that's the great thing of remote, of virtual experiences, right? It gives you new possibilities. But I think, yeah, I think you have to do the grind a few times to get the hang. Like with anything, right? Practice makes perfect. And yes, you will make mistakes. I mean, mistakes, in fact, I just read that it's not a mistake, or you don't lose until you give up, right? And that was the situation last year for us. We could have easily given up this whole play, said that we have very big competition, and we don't have much funds, and we don't have a team. But you know what? We didn't give up, so we have not lost. And the game is still open. And 3 years from now, I think we will see who's the winner.
Fantastic. So Jagat, now I want to also talk to you about, you use tools like Asana, and you do a lot of reading, and I can see a whiteboard at the back. Uh, so, talk about that. Productivity tools. How do you create an action plan? How do you make sure that you stay aligned to your goals? And when there are, obviously, right, there's a lot of stress. It's a small team. There's a lot of demand on your time, family time, etc., etc. So how do you monitor that? Just some takeaways on that.
This couple of points, right? I think one is you need to have an amazing team. Even if it's a very small team, I think it's very important that the people you are working with, you have a wonderful working relationship. Not everything in a startup is going to be smooth, right? So we have to make sure that we have the emotional understanding, emotional quotient. Not everything in life is about logic and intelligence. It's also about emotion and understanding the other person. I'm very fortunate that to have a wonderful co-founder and CTO in Akhil. That he's of course productivity is always teamwork, and I think your team is really important. And I'm sure they also look up to me, and they work with me on similar things. So your team is obviously your number one productivity tool. People are the best. But apart from that, now we get to the tools. This of course is very, very important, because the kind of work we do, typically we have done stuff that I don't have a frame of reference. Like when we built out browser-based conferencing, Google Meet didn't exist. Teams didn't exist. We didn't even know what browser-based conferencing meant, but we had to build it out. So you can't really have too much of process when you're being creative. And to me, as a founder, founder and CEO, I think are like two very, very contradictory roles. As a founder, you are finding stuff. This is why you're a founder, which means you're searching and you're creative. And as a CEO, you're basically reporting to your board, and you're basically you have a very kind of analytical and logical approach. So you have to have a mix of both. I don't think you can do only one, which is why having open kind of systems is very important. So whiteboard, Asana, of course, is I've been using it for now 10 years. Probably we are the earliest users of Asana in India from 2010. I don't think anyone's using Asana from 2010-11. So apart from that, well, to be very honest with you, and I'm not saying this because we built it, Vidphone is my number one productivity tool today. We generate leads, we close deals, we raise investment, we hang out with our team. Vidphone is all in one right now. But yeah, these 3-4 tools, and we're always discovering new tools. But one of the things that I say is that, at least for me personally, I don't like to get into too many tools, because I think, like for example, a lot of people are on Slack. Somebody says Notion, right? There are so many tools. But to me, I like to keep things simple. 2-3 things that work for us, I think, is good. And I think that's the important thing, right? It's not about being fancy and saying I use this, I use that. I mean, this works perfectly well. You don't even need, maybe Asana if you can just work a whiteboard, right? I also use Kanban flow. And that's also very, very useful. So those are, some of the tools that I'm using. And I think, while Vijetha kind of comes back, what I would also like to say is that we have some, really interesting, plans for tomorrow. And I think all the startup founders, definitely it'll be wonderful to kind of meet up and to hang out, right? So join us tomorrow. We're just taking a short 1 minute break here while I check on Vijetha. And if any, yeah, there you are. Thank you.
Great, Jagat. So this is some very, very, very interesting stuff that we are dealing with. So, Jagat, as with NASCOM, with TAI, these are these communities that are there, which founders must take full advantage and leverage it, right? Because a lot of resources, a lot of programs that you can apply for, a lot of programs where you can go and network. And this is something I want to again emphasize, right? Not just about a physical handshake, having a cup of coffee, and if you get really lucky, having a glass of beer together. But the real world today now is the pandemic is there. You got to stay at home. You got to stay fit. You got to stay healthy. But you cannot stop selling. You cannot stop interacting. You cannot stop working. Okay, so take advantage of all the digital tools, please. I mean, again, we at TAI Bangalore really care that all our members, the community, the startup ecosystem, anywhere, whatever we can do, we will do. Okay, and Jagat Startup Sunday tomorrow, I would also prepare a few more things. But I highlighted about the fact that we're doing startup showcases. We did it on 14th. We're doing it on 27th, 21st. We're again doing it on 28th. There are going to be a different set of angels and investors out there whom the startups can say hi to and interact. You have the water bridge fast forward program also that people can apply for. I talked about the Wadwani Foundation as well, and a shout out to the government of Karnataka people also. They're doing a lot of showcases and workshops talking about how you can work with the government, how can you apply for these various schemes. We will, Jagat, we will not stop doing these interactions. We will in fact enhance it. We will increase it and somehow find the energy and the machinery to do it. Okay, so any parting thoughts, Jagat? What else can you say to the founders, your peers, to your friends, your colleagues, to your rockstar entrepreneurs out there?
I think truly, entrepreneurs are today going to be the rock stars. We have to rebuild the economy, and let me tell you that only entrepreneurs can rebuild the economy. Government can only put in laws. The entrepreneurs are the ones. Whether it's a small, shop, or whether you're running a public company, entrepreneurs drive this country. Everything that you see around you is all done because of an entrepreneur. There is, you can just look around you, and everything has been done by an entrepreneur. So more power to all the entrepreneurs. But what's very important now, one of the things that I keep saying is, yes, the pandemic is real, the second wave is real, and there are two sets of people. There's one set which is in denial, saying that, and I was just reading this about, what's happening with the Mumbai, the Bollywood, and the actors, is that they don't want the lockdown. It's absurd. I don't understand. Everybody is having the problem. So there are some people who might be in denial, and I think there's the K curve, right? The K-shaped graph, where some are going to go down and some are going to go up. And the people who adapt fast, the people who can accept this new normal, do what's needed, make the necessary investments to actually plan for the future. My shout out for all the entrepreneurs is to be optimistic and to be brave, right? And to take decisions. I think if you're just going to go back to the old ways of doing things, well, you might be dead. It's as simple as that. It's not even about making losses. You may just die. So my shout out is, the more you innovate, the more you're going to grow. And definitely, we call it the Indus Valley civilization. This is the time for India.
Absolutely. So with that note, I hope to see you back tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock. There'll be a bunch of other founders. There'll be enablers. The ecosystem folks are there. Of course, Jagat, you'll be there. Startup Sunday. It's going to be a good party. And let's talk about everything else that we can do for each other. Let's build the community. Let's build the tribe. Take care, everyone. This is Vijetha here from TAI Bangalore saying good night. Thank you, Jagat and Akhil, also from Vidphone.
Thanks all. Wonderful.
Cheers.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.